All right. So just want to see that we're starting and everybody can see and hear us. I've got this tip from someone to not start with "Hello everyone, this is Rocket Lab Weekly" because apparently it cuts in the middle of it. So just a little filler talk before. Cool. So it seems like we're live and the systems are working. So hello everyone, this is Rocket Lab Weekly, episode 96. We are coming up on the 100th episode, and I have a feeling the 100th episode is going to be fire, and maybe we have a special surprise planned for you guys. But yeah, we can't disclose it yet. So that's going to be very cool. So hello everyone, today we have Matt Wen Lambo ? With us. And we have Scotto with us. How are you guys doing?
No Lambo for me.
No Lambo.
Yeah,
for
very
you.
good.
Okay.
Sorry, that was for a different stream, but it's funny that it's still on there. Very good. Very appreciative of you always hosting, and always looking forward to chatting with everybody.
Thank you. And how's everyone's portfolios this week? It seems like we have gotten the long-awaited pullback. Are you guys freaking out and running around your houses like headless chicken, or are you buying the dip?
I'm looking forward to some buying. Like this past week, we had EOS Energy's earnings. It was like kind of about a mixed bag as what was expected. The market's taking not so kindly to it. It's not terrible. It was down like 13% after hours on that day, and kind of ended the week basically, I think, down like 5%. So little, a few concerns there, but understandable concerns as you'd expect with any company ramping. But I'm more looking forward to next week. So we have I have Shift 4 and 5N Plus. We kind of touched on that a bit last week on Tuesday in the morning. And then on Thursday, we have Black Sky, Redwire, and Rocket Lab all reporting in the same day. And I think Kratos is that day as well. I don't track them very closely, but it's going to be a bouncy week for space stocks, I have a feeling. How are you guys feeling?
Good. It'll also be a pretty busy week for me. Palantir reports after hours on Monday, and Rocket Lab also reports. So it'll be a lot of fun next week, and I'll be keeping my ear to the streets. And I think the company I work for also reports next week, I believe. So generally on Tuesdays is when we report. So I'm curious to see how that shows up. So lots of activity for me next week with respect to reporting. Vince said running around the house. Yes, not this house. Lots of activity going on at the other houses. So I've been trying to keep up with that. Actually, we were just on the phone with the contractor, just talking about some finishing details that we were unpleased with, but we think we got to a good negotiation point, so we'll be okay with that. So it'll be nice. That'll get all finished, but overall the project is coming in very nicely. We turned a bad situation, a sewer pipe break in one of the rentals, into a finished basement. So a negative turning into a positive. And overall, yes, it means we have to come out of more money out of the pocket, but overall it really opened up the space, and it'll really hopefully make the tenants a lot happier in the future, and it'll make it a lot more rentable. Whole size of the house pretty much. So it allows a lot more opportunity. Put a nice little den down there, a nice little office or TV area if anybody wants. But other than that, I took a pause when Rocket Lab got into the high 40s, low 50s. I paused my continued buying, every other week buying, but as it kind of is retraced from there, I restarted it. So I purchased a little bit more again starting this week, and put that back on the everyday buys. If it starts jumping up into the 50s again, maybe I'll turn it off, but as always, continuing to buy. Trimmed, I don't know if I talked about this a little bit last week or not. Trimmed a little bit of Venture Global, not a whole lot. It was like 10 or 15% of the position, and put that into next decade. So still very bullish American liquefied natural gas, which is, believe it or not, a lot of the fuel that we're using in these rockets. So with that, just very bullish, just taking an opportunity to add a little bit more risk. I think next decade is a lot more long-term opportunity. Venture Global, already very profitable and moving, but already a $25-35 billion company. So in that respect, it's next decade's a magnitude smaller than that. So much more of a long runway associated with the potential for growth on that one. That's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm very calm about earnings because I feel, Palantir is just going to do really well. And I also feel Rocket Lab is going to do really well. And it's not really, I don't think Rocket Lab currently is driven on, the next earnings. I think it's more driven on, future projects and Neutron being on time. And I think we will get some good updates. I see a lot of chatter online that people start to get worried about the Rocket Lab backlog being flat for, I think it's 5 quarters in a row now. And it's mainly flat because there hasn't been any big new space systems contracts. And they were selling a lot of rocket launches, and then it kind of made up for the loss in like not the loss, but like the delivery of space systems. So just want to check your pulse on this. Like, are you guys like worried that the backlog is not growing? And for example, I think it's we have to be very sure that it's apples to apples comparison because companies count the backlog in a very different way. And for example, Firefly, that is IPOing recently, has a bigger backlog than Rocket Lab, which I have hard to believe. So my take on that is not as serious a backlog as how Rocket Lab is calculated. But what is your guys' take on Rocket Lab backlog and its growth?
I think it's a problem until it's not a problem. Like there have been many allusions to still, Mars still being on the table, and with what $100 million of that earmarked for Rocket Lab, even if they just get like, the majority of it, that's still a 50% increase to backlog, and then that talking point goes out the window very fast. And
say that again. Which one was it?
The Mars orbiter. So there's the whole the return sample and whatever, and that's kind of like off and on. But now they're talking more about like a kind of like a capstone sort of a setup for but for Mars, and they've kind of brought that up, and like there's so many potential awards that are coming in the next year for sure, maybe even this year still, that are absolutely needle moving, and will quickly kind of get rid of that conversation of Rocket Lab's backlog stagnating for the 5 quarters. Like it'll go away real quick.
Yeah, I think I've kept my eye on it as well. It's not something I'm, I guess, really concerned about. It's something I'm definitely keeping an eye on, like I said, but the thing I don't want to see is it go and shrinking. I think where we're going to naturally see it is expanding with these Neutron deals that will likely be coming out in the second quarter. With the continued HASTE launches, I think there's naturally going to be contracts added, but we're running at $400 million a year at this point, and probably encroaching on $500 to $550 million for fiscal year 2025. So that means that right now we're running at a 2-year backlog, if that makes sense. And my hope is that we can gain a lot more than that. And I think that that's something that should not be a surprise. And I know Adam has spoken about this, is that there will be a hockey stick at some point. And I would not be surprised if that's something to do with part of the Golden Dome contract. And, we can talk a little bit more about that. I think some people think we're going to get all $100 billion or something like that. No, I don't think that that's plausible. But there's a whole bunch of different things we could talk about with respect to that. But I also believe that there's a lot of opportunities associated with a bunch of different constellations that can be created. And I think things that even are within what we'll talk about today, where people will come back to us to create satellites. I think there's going to be a lot of people that wonder if, hey, we've been successful with Rocket Lab. Can we do it on our own? And I think that they will try, and I think they will fail, and I think eventually they will come back. And it's something that we saw with Palantir, where people will try to do something, they'll fail, and they'll come back. And I think it's something that we might be able to see as well. But I think that with the capital that has been flowing freely in the space, we're seeing money go to other competitors. And I'm sure Scott posted something. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that. We're seeing other competitors start to list, and eventually I anticipate that those will fall out. So I think that towards the end of this year will really be the time where we truly start to see things consolidate, and throughout 2026 and 2027 is when the backlog will truly start to see a movement on its own.
Nice. And by the way, it's a very good segue. I think we can take this topic. So there is rumor, Scotto is the one who brought this to our attention, that Varda's spacecraft that I believe hitched a ride on Falcon 9 on a ride share. That's not the one that Rocket Lab has manufactured. It's their own in-house one. It looks like it suffered a failure. And I can show you the evidence that was presented on this. So this is allegedly, we don't know that this is true. But there is a NASA tracker website. I don't know if you guys no, you don't see my screen. So here is the screen, and this is basically the ID of the Varda spacecraft, and NASA reclassified it as an unknown object. And then there is another website, which this n2yo.com, which is basically space enthusiasts developers helping to track satellites and different things. And then you can see here the same international ID. And there is a note here that this satellite is Durbis. Oh, sorry. Where's my tech support when I need it? So here is the, so here you can see it's the same code, and here you can see the note that this satellite is Durbis. So yeah, by the way, just a shout out. So Matt Money has gifted 5 memberships for his channel, and Scotto has also gifted 5 memberships for his own channel. And if you're not a member of these two guys' channel, then please go grab their free memberships. So yeah, Varda, Scotto, you're the one who found this. Why don't you brief us on what happened?
Well, I mean, it is still kind of speculative, I guess, but well, I mean, it seems less speculative now. And I think one of the biggest tells for this is the lack of anything from Varda. Like they're like just kind of like scrolling back through their X. They typically post once every couple days, kind of an idea, and they've been radio silent for about a week now, July 16th actually, so coming up on 2 weeks. So I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they've caught wind of a rumor, and it'd be so easy to just go on and be like, no, we're operating just like we just expected. So their silence, I think, speaks quite loud right now. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Like it's, you know, in terms of Rocket Lab, it's kind of like, you know, nothing to cheer about, but I mean, it is kind of a testament to the Rocket Lab built crafts. This is the first one that Varda's launched themselves, and hopefully it's their first and only failure. But I mean, it could, if they have another issue like this, or even if this is an issue that they just can't seem to remediate, maybe this does end up in more Rocket Lab built crafts for Varda. So kind of bittersweet for sure.
Yeah, Matt?
Sorry, I just need to take myself off mute there. Yeah, I mean, I want to see everybody succeed, right? I think succession in this space will drive everybody towards a better result for mankind. But at the same time, you know, I think that Varda was maybe trying to run before they could walk. I was very surprised that they walked away from the Rocket Lab. I mean, they didn't completely walk away. I shouldn't say that. That they tried to do something on their own. And, you know, I think that they maybe should have tried to learn a little bit more from the partnership before they maybe tried it on their own. And maybe I could be completely wrong. Maybe this is just that. Maybe it's a rumor. Maybe it truly is perfectly fine, and I hope that it is. I hope they are doing okay. And because I think at the end of the day, like, it's not about success or failure for Varda, it's about really what the objective is that they're trying to achieve, which is zero gravity testing and the long-term opportunity to develop that total addressable market, which can help with semiconductors, it can help with pharmaceuticals, it can help with healthcare in general. So I would like to see that space continue, but at the same time, it's like the best chance of success, in my opinion, to be able to get that off the ground is utilizing Rocket Lab. So it's very harmful in my mind to see them try to venture off, and I didn't think it was a good move for them. Maybe I had too much skin in the game. Maybe I'm biased because I love Rocket Lab and I want to see them succeed. But at the same time, you know, I not, how do I say this? Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if it means in the future more and more folks just rely intently on utilizing Rocket Lab than potentially trying to do things their own. Because space is hard. We've seen that time and time again. I'm sure there's many examples this week where we'll show that space is hard.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny that you said Palantir, because that's what I was thinking about actually, since I heard this news, that like Palantir's moat is that they're doing something that you can actually hire, in theory, AI engineers to do for your own company. And, you know, you're risking the money, you're risking the time, and you are risking the opportunity cost that your company is, you know, not increasing the efficiency for years while you're suffering with your own in-house project, you know. And I feel that, as we saw in the documentary about Rocket Lab, that Rocket Lab is accused of building Ferraris. I'm sure that you can find a cheaper way to build your spacecraft, but if if it doesn't work, then you have wasted, like, let's say Rocket Lab is 30 million and your own in-house is 20 million dollars, but then you did end up wasting the $20 million. You lost the time when you had to pay all the employees, and you know, you are further away from proof of concept. And I think it's generally just better business practice to, maybe I'm also biased, but I think it's general safer business. Like, if you truly go through all the options, it's better to spend that extra 10 million and have less risk and for sure complete your project than going with the risky option. So what I'm very curious, if this gets confirmed, what I'm super curious about is, do they come back to Rocket Lab, or do they try to push on with, you know, in-housing their spacecrafts?
Mm-hmm.
They
still have. Sorry, Scott, you're probably going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just actually going to say, I was listening to Manifest Space from July 11th, and Varda Space, they actually just raised 187 million in a Series C, and that was their explanation for that. It was like, we're ramping the business. So hopefully, I don't know, hopefully they're like not too far along with that ramp up, if they are going to kind of pivot and be like, whoa, let's settle down a little bit and make sure that we got a working product before we build the factory to build more of this product that ends up being debris, you know. Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Maddie?
I was just going to say, I think there is a third spacecraft that Rocket Lab is developing for Varda. I'm not sure how much additional the contract runs after that third Varda craft.
It'd be the fourth one. Fourth. They've done 3 so far, and they have 1 more.
You mean Varda's done 3?
Like, Rocket Lab has built 3 for Varda, with a 4th being built. So Varda's built and launched 1 of their own, and they've launched 3 of Rocket Lab's, if that helps.
Okay. I don't know why I'm behind. Okay.
But yeah, the 4th Rocket Lab built one I think that's first half of next year.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
There's a delay between the 3rd and the 4th Rocket Lab built one.
Very good. Okay.
No, it's like, it could be a lot more communicated a lot better, like, especially naming both the 3rd and 4th craft, but also the 5th craft, W4.
Yes, that's where I think that's where I'm maybe getting something mixed up here. But yeah, I know that I'm not sure of any future development other than that beyond, and so curious if that means that potentially that 180 million might go into a future deal for Rocket Lab.
Yeah. I mean, it could also be that that was always the plan, that they use Rocket Lab for proof of concept because they knew that Rocket Lab was, a very safe option and they will deliver and on time, and then they can close investors. And then the plan was always to in-house the production. It's just they wanted proof of concept and being able to raise capital, which they have gotten. So we will see. We will see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at this is like everybody has their specialty, right? And my thought was that the specialty that Varda was bringing to the table was the 0G aspect of developing that total addressable market. So developing 0G medications or 0G semiconductors or what have you. And so that's what I thought they were focusing on. And that's what I thought it would be a great partnership, because Rocket Lab brings that satellite bus and that spacecraft ability to manufacture expertise in, right? So that's where I was kind of like, okay, well, it's a partnership kind of made in heaven in that respect. So the fact that they're trying to create their own spacecraft was kind of like a pivot in my mind. But then again, I don't know everything about these businesses. I'm coming from an enthusiast perspective. And so I guess I just didn't fully understand Varda's business model.
Yeah, we will see. We will see what happens. Cool. Well, let's begin with some usual Rocket Lab news. So we have a new launch date, which is Electron's 69th mission. Apparently, there is a haste mission that could not get off the ground, and a lot of people are arguing if the haste one will be the 69th mission, or that will be the 70, and this is 69, even if the haste launches before this one. I actually don't have an update on what happened to that haste mission. I just know that there was some delay on it. Do you guys have any update on it?
Last I heard is launching today, but I've heard many times throughout the last month that it's launching on the day. So I don't know. Apparently it's happening soon. I think the last I heard is there's a window today with a backup window tomorrow. So. And,
yeah, I've heard the same.
And what's the guy's name? Wallop's Vantage.
Mm-hmm.
He posted that, and I don't understand how exactly it's moved, but apparently a trailer or a container or something that moves the rocket is not where it's usually been, kind of inferring that the rocket is not
on site,
or no, that it would be on site is my understanding. It's not like in the storage area that it was. So it's getting set up again or happening soon is my understanding. We'll see.
Wallop's Vantage has provided some good photos, and if they are real time or at least slightly delayed by an hour or two, there is definitely an Electron vehicle, whether it's going to be used for haste or some sort of Electron at Launch Complex 2. And they are bringing it up. They are testing and getting it tied up. So I'd anticipate it's for Jake 4. That's what they keep saying. But as Scott alluded to or said as well, I've heard that this thing is going to launch at least 14 times over the past 30 days. And at least for what it seems like, it continues to be for some sort of weather reasons. And then it looked like it was supposed to launch 2 days ago or so. And it looks like it was canceled, not delayed. And it wasn't specific as to why it was canceled, which I guess caught some people by surprise. I wish I had the graphics. I should have sent it to you, Vince. But basically, it was like some regulatory body that monitors and keeps track of when these flights are going off, to keep track, I guess, of the local area to make sure that it's available. Normally if it's delayed, it talks about being pushed, right? But instead it said canceled, which generally means that something went awry with it, like something mechanical. So I don't know if that meant that there was actually something wrong with the Electron itself, or the Jake 4 team wasn't ready, or what have you. So curious to see what ends up happening in that respect. But yeah, I keep hearing every other day that it's supposed to launch, and for some reason it gets delayed.
Yeah. And how are we looking on launches this quarter? We're in a new quarter, first month finished. Scotto, you're the numbers guy on the team, or one of the numbers guys at least?
I'm seeing 3 so far that are kind of more or less locked in. We have Jake 4, allegedly. We have the IQPS mission that's been locked in. Synspective can be expected for September, and then I'm making an assumption that Capella lands in Q3. But that's based on the assumption that it just got pushed out of Q2. That one's really, really quiet though. It seems like I think we had a quote for, I think it was for June actually. It just keeps getting kind of kicked down the road. So I'm not sure about that one. And then outside of that, we have, let me just do a quick count, 11 launches that are still potential for 2025. So that includes 3 other Black Sky. Those, like, we can feel good about Black Sky this quarter. Hawkeye number 3, and we have 3 more Lighthouse, 1 U.S. government haste, and 2 more with IQPS for 2025. Oh, and I missed, we'll call it confidential. I think it's that same customer that launched last quarter. It was. So yeah, plenty to go still this year.
So this quarter could be like a highest ever quarter if.
Yeah, because like we're like 5 is the record, right? So yeah. I mean, this quarter or next, I think it's safe to assume that we're going to break a new record. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
But
cool.
none this quarter to date yet, right?
Right. Yeah.
Checking. Yeah, because
this is the third quarter
the haste was supposed to be on the 14th, and then that's continued to get delayed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like interestingly, each quarter this year has been, the first month have had no launches in them. It's an interesting trend for the year.
That is
yeah. So 2025 Rocket Lab schedule. It's like we have a tough quarter and then we rest for a month and then cool. And then we also touched on the next one a little bit in the pre-show that it seems like Mars is back on the table. Rocket Lab is posting about the sample return, not the sample return mission. This is one. So the Mars Telecommunications Orbiter was part of the Mars sample return mission. And so it looks like that one is back on. Rocket Lab also updated their website where they explain what this project would be for. And they are basically saying that this will be a relay communication for equipment and humans that are on Mars. And they are touting that they have done everything is done with their in-house manufacturing. They can do it at a fixed cost, and they have experience on every part of this mission. I mean, look at this chart that they have here. One sec. This is the Mars assets that they have had something to do with, like the Escapade spacecraft, Mars Science Laboratory, Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution, Mars Insight Lander, Mars Perseverance Rover, Genuinity Mars Helicopter. They all had their fingerprints on these, and that's pretty freaking impressive. So yeah, what do you guys think is the significance of this, and how, like, if you would have to rate, like, for sure we're getting this contract to 0 chance, like, what do you think is the chance that we are getting this Mars transmit MTO?
Matt, I kind of want to hear. I want to hear what you think first.
I don't know. That's a really good question about this. It seems like to me that Rocket Lab is really starting to situate themselves into a place where Mars is going to be a place where they really want to play, whether that's for communications or bringing back payloads eventually or what have you. And so whether or not they get the whole contract or not, I think, regardless, it's going to have to be some sort of partnership, is my anticipation with the whole thing. And I might not necessarily have been 100% paying attention because I was doing some analytics around the Electron, but is the question more so specifically around the Mars sample return or just Mars in general, or
no the Mars what is it called, this orbiter around Mars?
Okay,
which is a part
the Escapade, or what's
no this one that is here, the Mars Telecommunications Orbiter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just didn't want to make sure I was like started talking about the Mars sample return or something like that because
it's because this Mars telecommunication orbiter was part of the bigger Mars sample return mission that Rocket Lab planned. It was just one part, and somehow, like when you read the website, it's looking like they are making whoever is reading it very aware that if you in a later part in the future you want to go ahead with the Mars sample return, this is like sort of future proofing it. But no matter what, you need this orbiter on Mars to be able to communicate with Earth, and so no matter what, you need this. And if you buy it, then you're like future proofing also the sample return mission.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process is the Artemis mission's going ahead, and so I think regardless of whether or not Rocket Lab is going to be the one that takes people to space, isn't important right now. What is important is that Rocket Lab wants to be in the end-to-end space business, and to be able to provide that, they have to be in cahoots with NASA and provide services that NASA needs. And with that, if NASA plans on going to Mars as part of the Artemis mission, they're going to need communications, right? And I think that is just the underbelly of what is going to be necessary to be able to continue. And there's a lot of underlying things that need to be tested, right, around this particularly. What else was there? I mean, not only that, they're also going to try to design. Anyway, I don't want to get entirely into everything they're going to try to design with Artemis and everything like that, but basically like a lunar space station that you can kind of go up and down from, rather than just like living on the moon, if that makes sense. You can kind of go up and down. But anyway, interesting, and I think it's going to be able to help just in general with the Mynaric acquisition and in utilizing the laser communication systems that's likely to provide. I think it all plays a component in that.
Yeah, well,
but I'm not as well versed as I want to be in it.
Yeah, like you guys mentioned it a lot of times too, like the comparisons between Capstone and this orbiter. I think this has, I think this is like, I almost want to call it like an easy get for Rocket Lab. And maybe it's not the full 700 million. Like maybe they have, I mean, they're going to need partners for the mission, even if it is just for launch. But I'm also thinking like of that launch angle, they did launch Capstone themselves too. So it's like, they even have that to be like, hey, well, do you need proof that we can not just take you to orbit, but also get you to where exactly you want to be? Because we can do it within a few meters, because we've done it before and we continue to do it. So whether it's the craft or the launch or kind of anything in between, I think this is looking good for Rocket Lab.
Or the lander, right? I mean, with Blue Ghost landing on the moon with Firefly, I mean, that was a part of it as well. So I think it's 100% right. I mean, they can be end to end, you know, they can launch it, they can land it, they can. So you're 100% right, Scott. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like actually Dave G, who's not here with us today, but he did a fantastic video this week, and where he explained the history a little bit about what happened with this. And so basically we had the Mars sample return mission that was canceled, fully taken out of the budget. And then when the bill was in Senate, Senator Ted Cruz like put back just the Mars telecommunication orbiter. He put back into the budget, but like it was the 700 million up to 2026, and it's supposed to be given to a commercial provider who has submitted a study on how this should be done, and who NASA has an experience with. I mean, you can check the exact wording in Dave's video, but the point is like Rocket Lab fits into all these categories, and it doesn't seem like there's any other company who has all these checkpoints. Like they submitted the study and they have previously worked with NASA. And at some points also, I think Ted Cruz called Rocket Lab by the name. So it's very interesting. It looks like there is some lobbying effort by Rocket Lab that is paying out, or maybe Ted Cruz just really admires Rocket Lab. But yeah, I think we have a high likelihood of getting this 700 million contract. Again, the question is, you know, if we keep all the 700 of it, or if it goes to subcontractors and whatever. But it is going to be a big win for Rocket Lab, and I would put the likelihood to like 80% chance that we get this.
Yeah, I mean, it's Houston. I mean, I live here, Space City. I mean, we literally call it the Space City. I mean, it's what put the lunar lander and the moon in the 60s. And I mean, Intuitive Machines is based out of here. NASA's based out of here. Well, I guess the southeast of here, and Clear Lake, which is not far from Houston. I mean, I would love to see. I would love to see Rocket Lab establish some sort of base, or some sort of not base per se, like a launch complex, although that would be awesome. But some sort of facility here, whether it's an engineering facility or what have you, that would be absolutely phenomenal to see. I mean, Firefly's near Austin. I think that Blue Origin is in West Texas. So Texas is hugely a fan of the space industry, and we have some engineers here. So
yeah, I mean, I guess that there is strings attached, right? Like if Ted Cruz is really supporting Rocket Lab, like I think the expectation would be that Rocket Lab sets something up in Texas, but that is something we're going to see in the future, and if we get this contract.
Yeah, Huntsville has a lot of legacy too. I mean, 100%.
Cool. So now again, we have segued into this. We're really good at picking up topics in the beginning of the show, but yeah, there was a attempt by a new startup to launch a rocket, and they successfully developed a sideways flying rocket. I thought that was strictly the IP of Astra. This is an Australian rocket startup called what was their name? Gilmore.
Gilmore Space, yeah.
I was gonna say Gilmore, and then I was like, no, that's a series, the Gilmore Girls. But no, this is Gilmore Space Technologies. And very interesting, Eric Berger actually posted about this, and he said, rockets are super hard. Best wishes to Gilmore Space for a rapid recovery. Honestly, this just underscores the magnitude of what Peter Beck and Rocket Lab achieved a decade ago. And might I remind you guys that the first test flight of Rocket Lab actually was flawless, except for the NASA supervisors forgot to put a check mark in a software, and then they couldn't establish safety communications with the rocket, and then the rocket had to be terminated. And then the second test flight of the Electron was flawless. And we see all these startups having issues, and yeah, space is really hard, and makes me appreciate how good of an engineer Peter Beck is. But it also makes me a little bit worried for the maiden flight of Neutron. So what did you guys think?
I mean, it's cool to see them finally launch. They were supposed to launch, I think, like middle of last year. They were actually supposed to launch, I think it was like 2 months ago, but I think it was the day before the launch was supposed to go off. The fairing just like opened. It like shot away, exposing their payload of 1 jar of Vegemite. So that got pushed back a little ways, and it's cool to see.
Is that what the payload is? Is 1 jar of Vegemite? That's pretty cool.
Vegemite. They actually posted a picture later. They're like, "Hey, we recovered it, and it's this charred jar of Vegemite." But yeah, it's great to see. Hopefully they get back on the pad in a good time frame, and hopefully they've got more rockets on deck. It'd be nice to see some competition.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we take the next news. And that is Firefly news. So they get awarded a new contract for NASA's CLIPS mission, which is basically the commercial payload to the moon. This is the 4th mission to the moon, and this time they need to land on the South Pole with 2 rovers and 3 instruments, which is a $177 million contract, and a lot harder than what they have done before. This news comes at the same time, or around the same time, as they are expected to IPO. at a 5.5 billion valuation, and they want to raise $631 million. And it looks like this is a price to sale of 50, which is on par with Rocket Lab's price to sales, which feels a little pricey to me. So where are you guys on this IPO?
I mean, I kind of mentioned it in the last episode, kind of indirectly, and I'm not trying to say that we're at a top. I'm not trying to call anything, but there are certain indicators that make me think that maybe we've had a long bull market, and seeing a lot of IPOs like this is very reminiscent of like 2021 era. And I think we have another story after this as well, but like just seeing the kind of valuations and seeing the, and I don't mean this as a dig, but kind of the quality of companies that are coming to market kind of gives me a bit of pause in terms of where we're at in terms of valuation. There hasn't been a ton of IPOs, but the last few that we've had have been trading rich, to put it politely, you know. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it pulls a Voyager and it just shoots right up and then kind of evens out over time, but I won't be touching this one personally. I mean, maybe as like a small bet position, but like as far as building a proper core position in Firefly, not opposed to it, but just not going to happen anytime soon. That's for sure.
Not at 50 price to sales.
No way. No.
Yeah, 50 price of sales seems a little bit rich to me. And you know, to give a direct kind of correlation as to what I was buying into when I was not the direct listing of Rocket Lab, sorry, when the listing with Rocket Lab came out with the SPAC, and I think at that point they had launched 17 or 18 times. They had a pretty successful campaign throughout all of 2020, 2021, and that was, or beginning of 2021 rather. So it's hard, and even then a $5 billion valuation for Rocket Lab seemed a little bit kind of scary, but you know, I took a leap at that. This one, I don't know. They haven't had nearly as much of a launch cadence per se. I'm curious to see, and what I would like to look at for their S1, which maybe I can dive to a little bit more, is how much of that $100 million or so that they've received over the past 12 months was due to the lunar lander. And if now that we're past that, you know, how lumpy is their business, and will they have that consistent growth in revenue, or now that they're done that lunar lander piece, is it going to kind of come back down? You know, like, I'm kind of curious to see how that looks in terms of what they're doing, because they don't have very consistent launch revenue. So I'm kind of a head scratcher as to how consistent can that kind of be, or if it's going to be very lumpy until they get a more firm foundation underneath themselves. Generally speaking, companies want to go public at the right time to get the right marketing, so they can go forward and get $600 million out the gate, right? So all that being stated, yeah, I think Firefly is a great company. I think they'll end up being okay. I think they will eventually get the cadence that they need, but at this point, I will be keeping an eye on what happens after the IPO and potentially buying it if it dips below the initial purchase, or sorry, the initial listing price, not the price that people probably FOMO into. I think that there will be a lot of people that buy into it though, because this is the current environment. But if it gets down to a $2.5 billion market cap, I might take a swing. I think that 5.5 at the moment is a little bit too rich for my blood, unless I am missing something in terms of the long-term potential. But to me, it just seems like a little bit too far-fetched for me right now.
That's what I wanted to ask, because what I don't get is, you know, like, people compare Firefly to Rocket Lab, but Rocket Lab is actually an end-to-end space company that has space systems. We are planning to go into, you know, space infrastructure, and the rocket launch is not a good business. And as far as I understand, like Firefly is a rocket launcher, which is not a good business. And I don't get like what is their space systems play. But I mean, it could be that I am not educated, because it feels like they get a lot of moon contracts. But are they like a lunar that also can, you know, ship their own devices, or like on own assets, or like what's the long-term play in this company?
I mean, they are developing their own spacecraft that, like, as far as I understand, is still launching this year, but it's a bit of an unknown because I don't know if Alpha is still grounded, or I don't know the status of that. And that's one of those things. I'm like, if you guys are gearing up for an IPO, you should make sure that your rocket is like able to fly. You know what I mean? And I get that there's that like investigation period after, but I'm still like, the launch was in April. Like, are you guys launching soon again, or what's the update? There seems to be kind of nothing on that, but if all goes well, they'll be launching that craft this year. The second will be launching with their second lunar mission in Q1 of 2026.
Mhm.
And then from there, you know, they do have their Eclipse rocket, kind of like a Neutron competitor. It's like a joint with Northrop Grumman. That's launching in the first half of 2026. And then kind of looking ahead, it's like they have their third lunar mission isn't until 2028, and they announced their fourth lunar mission. So what is that, like 2029, maybe 2030? So Vince, kind of to what you're saying, it's like if that is kind of their bread and butter is the lunar missions, that's quite a delay between, you know, the but just between missions kind of in general. So wishing them well, of course, but there's just more questions than answers at this point, and hopefully those are kind of taken care of sooner than later.
Yeah, and I don't know how many additional contracts they have, but I know they have the Victus Sol mission with the U.S. Space Force. But after that, I'm not sure what other Space Force contracts they have. So yeah, you know, I guess you could say the same thing about Rocket Lab with respect to who knows how many further contracts they'll have. But at least we know between now and in 2028 timeframe, you know, what satellites are being created, the fact that they're creating their own constellations, the fact that they're creating a medium launch vehicle that will launch. Like, I feel like that right now we have a capable small launch vehicle. We, in my anticipation, you know, I guess we'll find out in the next 36 months, we'll have a very consistent launching medium launch vehicle, and hopefully a constellation. To me, that's more of a company you'd want to put than this, where you might not know. But that might be the upside, right? It could end up being something that is very favorable, but at the same time, it just seems like for now, $5.5 billion market cap valuation for a company that is IPOing, that in my opinion didn't have as much potentially going for it like Rocket Lab did back in the day, is maybe a bit of a head scratcher. I don't know. I would personally wait. Well, I am personally going to wait. And if it drops down to 2 to 3 billion, maybe I would take an opportunity. But I still even think at 2 to 3 billion, it might be a gamble.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about gamble, there's another IPO called iRocket, which I think is short for Innovative Rocket Factory or something like this. They are set to IPO at $400 million. It's not set in stone yet. They are a company that was founded in 2018, and their first launch, which is a rocket that will be an Electron competitor. I think it was like something like between 300 to 1,500 kilograms of payload. And their plan is to have the rocket fully reusable, being able to reuse it within 24 hours. So are you guys going all in on that one, selling your Rocket Lab shares? Or what do you guys think about that one?
Yeah, like this is more what I was alluding to when I was kind of half joking about, like, if you're looking for signs if the market's topping out, this is the one. Like it's they're raising 400 million and they're not launching till 2027. So I'm kind of like, that's a long time to be to have no revenue. But yeah, I have literally nothing else to say about them because I don't know what else there is to say about them. Like they're building a rocket and coming to market, I guess.
Doesn't it feel like it's too early to come to the public markets? Like maybe you should like have more. Yeah, but maybe they are not able to get private. I don't know what's the rationale for them to come out on the public markets at this stage.
Not too sure. I mean, valuations really probably looking at Rocket Lab, looking at Firefly, and they're like, oh, I want a piece of that pie because, you know, in a year the market might be rating those kind of companies very differently. And
yeah,
might be not the best time to raise.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This was all I have planned for this week. I don't know if the audience has any question they want us to look at, or if you guys know some topic that is super important that I missed. It's earnings week for Rocket Lab. I think I will try to be live streaming the earnings, and I know usually you guys also do, so we'll probably be together there. Yeah, I saw that somebody really wanted to get an update on your baby, Scott.
Oh, she's doing great. She's like doing that baby thing where she's just like when it's time for everybody to sleep, that's when she's most active, and vice versa. So it's not getting a lot of sleep around here, but it's great. It's yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome. You know, it's so funny. I had my first two kids when I was 27 and I think 26 maybe, and 28, something like this. And now I had a batch of two when I was like 35 and 37. And, you know, when I was younger, I could not appreciate this baby stage. And I was like, oh, I'm so annoyed. I have to work and I can't sleep and I'm tired all the time. And then like it passes you by so fast. And then, you know, like now with the second two, I'm a lot more mature. And then I know that this time will pass. And then it's like somehow I'm enjoying this time. So make sure you, despite all the discomfort and whatever, that you're enjoying it, because you blink your eye and it's going to pass and they will be, yeah.
It's like, I think it's crazy too. And I won't go on too long about parenting here, but it's crazy too, because like, going from that first kid to the second, like that first one is like your little baby, right? But then you see them like hold the new baby and you're like, what happened to you? You're like huge. It's like one of those eye openers of like, yeah, wow, it's happening very fast. I know everybody says it's cliche, but I get it now.
I had my daughter's 11th birthday today, actually. And I was like speaking to her and I'm like, you were born yesterday. Like, how the fuck are you like, you know? So yeah, it's crazy. Cool. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to say.
No. Are you, at what point are you going to potentially start looking to dabble back in, Scott? I think you mentioned at the beginning of the show, but is there like a meaningful, I know you trimmed last week, you said 15%, I think.
To Rocket Lab, you mean, or just kind of in general?
Maybe even both.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Rocket Lab is kind of like on that coast phase, and I know like I should be a hyperbole having the show here, but like I don't want to
grow only bears here.
Yeah. I don't want to grow it too big of a position. And that's kind of with every, like, a kind of across the board. It's like I had Tesla in like 2021 and like I had it since 2019. So it's whatever, but to watch, and it was a much larger percentage of the portfolio, but to watch that like go up the way it did and then come down after Elon doing Elon things, it was a good eye opener. And I'm thankful that I had like the runway that I still have a lot of runway, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too over or too into any single company. So to answer your question though, like, I don't know, I still probably wouldn't consider buying for just kind of indefinitely, really. Like if it fell to like the 20s or something, kind of have to at that point, or I don't know, kind of depends what we see on earnings too, I suppose, but just kind of sitting on my hands at the moment, waiting for a good opportunity. I'll probably add some EOS hopefully before next earnings, but not seeing as many deals as I like. So that's kind of why I'm just calling a top.
No, that's
kind of half joking, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's completely understandable.
Yeah, cool, guys. Yeah, I mean, I was like looking at my investing mistakes, and I was like speaking with my parents, and it's funny, like they have some real estate in Hungary that like where the price has really gone up. And then I was like, it's so interesting because my biggest mistakes were like selling too early. And I'm like, in their life, like what it looks like has created their retirement. It was also like just having an asset and not selling it. And I'm like, I'm maturing as an investor. And I'm like, I think I really like this viewpoint, what Matt is saying, that like when was the right time to sell something. And then like on Microsoft, the answer was never, you know. And then I think if you can buy a company and have that viewpoint that I never want to sell this because it's such a good business and it's going to grow for that long a time, it's very good. And if you don't have that feeling, like you don't want to buy it because I want to sell it at the next good point, then it's probably not the right company that you're looking at. But that's my investing philosophy, and it's evolving with time. And then of course, I think if the thesis like insanely drastically changes, I think it's fine to sell. But yeah, at least when you're buying it, you should have this, that it's like, I'm gonna own this forever. And if you don't have that feeling, then it's probably not a good company to buy.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I mean, I'm fortunate to be in the spot where, I mean, if my Rocket Lab went to zero, which I don't think it would, right? I mean, let's just say if it doesn't end up being as prolific as I think, and only ends up being a 10 or $15 billion company, so I lose a little bit of where I am today, you know, I'm okay with that, right? I mean, I don't think that anybody here in their right mind thinks that Rocket Lab would ever get sold for picks and shovels at this point. I think you know, they're getting to a place where they could pull back on operating expenditures and get themselves to profitability. And at that point, just based off the fact of what they've been able to build and what they've been able to achieve, and just like kind of a thinking about a margin of entry, or not a margin of entry, but like a cost to entry, you're probably looking at that $5 to $10 billion range just to kind of get yourself to a place where you could get to even thinking about building yourself a rocket lab. So in that respect, you know, I think that's kind of the floor for the company in terms of what the price should be. And so to me, the way I look at it is I have other things in my portfolio that kind of hold it up. And it's like, well, if this is going to be my opportunity, it's going to be my opportunity. And some people are sitting there like, Matt, you're an idiot, you should sell. And it's like, well, I get it. But like, you know, if you think about it, it's like, if I were to sell, let's just be blunt, it's like, how do I want to put this in layman's terms? If it ends up being what I think it could be, like you stated, Vince, it could be like me holding Microsoft since the 80s, right? And say in 2030, 2040 timeframe, I could be sitting there being like, I remember buying, and my cost basis of Rocket Lab at that time, you know, it'll have split, you know, 3 or 4 times, and you know, it'll be paying an X amount dividend, and the amount of shares that I, you know, had, or the dividend that I'd be getting is worth 50-60% of what I initially put into the company, maybe even more, etc. You know, and if we really truly think space is going to be that grand and massive, and Rocket Lab ends up being the second or first player in that space, I mean, why would I ever want to sell it? But worst case scenario, I end up in 10 years time holding a position that has already gotten me massive amounts of returns, right? If I go from where I was buying at, say, the $5, $6, $7, $8 back in the day, to it's still being, let's just say, only a $35, $40 stock in 10 years time, that still would have outpaced the market. Yeah, I got there way quicker and I just sat on my hands. But overall, you know, I've kind of gotten to where I want to be on an annualized basis, right? I could have maybe taken that money and put it elsewhere, but I'm willing to take that gamble. And I'm lucky that, the business is in much better shape than when I first started buying in 2021. And I think there's a lot of catalysts, and I don't need the money right now. I'm fortunate that I'm single. For my financial portfolio, I'm fortunate that I'm single. I'm miserable and cry myself to sleep every night. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm in that respect, like I'm able to take on the risk. And so with that, I don't have a family that I need to look after. And if I did, I'd probably make a different decision, right? I'd be able to take that money and say, I don't have to work anymore. This is our baseline. My family's secure, but to me, I'm playing a video game, right? To me, I'm trying to figure out, like, what else am I going to do? Like, what would I do? Just like stop working or, stop. It's like, I don't want to stop talking about Rocket Lab. What am I going to do? Sell? What am I going to do on Saturdays at 4 p.m.? Like it just doesn't make sense to me when there's still so much opportunity to sell now. It just seems like it's, selling in the second inning. And I'm very fortunate to be in this position.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Thank you everyone for being here. I think see you guys next week. And yeah, may your sky stays blue and your stock stays green. All right.
See you guys.
Ciao, ciao.